a lot of beautiful things about our culture, not just like funeral stuff, but also like, you know, in the way that we, I don't know, like, let me see what's but like, but no, like, things, you like, know, like I love the costume. You know what? I think that's beautiful too. But there is a lot of,
the island's beautiful.
No, the cookies are beautiful. But for real, like, it is a beautiful, being Samoan is a beautiful culture, and I love being American Samoan. Okay?
Have you ever tried Punga Bubble? It's a beautiful thing, bro. Well, I agree with you. You know, learning the reasons, it kind of gives you a sense of belonging, and also that you feel that connection.
It's beautiful to see because not a lot of cultures have that. Some cultures, like I said before, they don't have that luxury that we have, you know, that we can lean on our community to kind of pull up when we need them in times of need. Mm-hmm. Other people have to resort to donations or GoFundMe pages, and or car washes and stuff like that. And, you know, so when you need it, your family's going to be there as a community to kind of help you through this process, because the last thing you want to worry about when you're grieving is finances. And on that aspect, it was beautiful to see.
I think it's important also for those that are very knowledgeable of the culture to have that grace towards those that want to learn, because if you don't have that grace and you're super critical to your role, scolding them and left and right, like if you're in a Samoan culture, they'll even, like, you know, they'll hit and stuff like that. I think if that grace isn't there, then it's going to create a type of attitude towards the one that's trying to learn. Like, man, I can never get it right. Why would I even want to learn?
Like, having that sense of understanding of why we do the things we do, or why certain things are done the way it is it makes you appreciate the culture more. It makes you appreciate really being Samoan. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Ground Up. I'm your host, Nay, with my brother, Kazi. We are two siblings in the entrepreneurship space, and we speak on topics like faith, family, and entrepreneurship. And today, we really wanted to just talk about, like, I guess under the umbrella of family, and our culture, pretty much. Recently, if you guys keep up with us on social media, we lost our grandpa. And with that unfortunate event, we got to really see our culture, I guess, firsthand. If you don't know about the Samoan culture, when there's a passing or a big event like that, pretty much families come, they bring gifts, and they help in our time of need. And so that's pretty much what we wanted to talk about as American Samoans. I guess experiencing that firsthand.
Yeah, and before we started recording, I told my sis that I didn't want to talk from a stance as if we are very knowledgeable of the Fa Samoa, because we are not. You know, unfortunately, our upbringing, we were kind of disconnected from it. Our elders didn't really teach it to us. They had their reasons, you know, and the way it works within the families is when the elders are funking, like say my parents and your parents are funking, unfortunately, it gets passed down to us, and now we funking, right? So therefore, we were very disconnected from the culture. And now that we're in our adult years, we're getting, you know, we're finally getting involved in it. They're allowing us in. And, you know, I was telling my sis, I think it's important for elders and those that came before us to create a space that's safe, for one, for people like myself to ask questions, and then two, giving them that grace to mess up, right? Because I feel like if you create a space to where people feel intimidated, or they feel like the dumbest one in the room, so they don't want to ask the questions, then you're always going to be dealing with somebody that doesn't really understand the culture, and they're not going to feel that connection and feel the importance behind it. Because I would say confidence comes from competence, and when you get more information and get more knowledge on the things that we want to push down to our families, I think it's important for allowing them to ask those questions like, why do we do this? Okay, I know that's how we do it, but why do we do that? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm in those spaces, and me and my sis, I would say, we're in those spaces, really trying to get the nitty gritty of things, like the deep understandings of, okay, I know that's okay. I know we do C's. I know we do follow lovers. I know as a family, these are the different things that we stand for, but why is that? Where did it come from? And then two, you know, we're big on our faith, and where does it say that in the Bible? Right. So, it was a beautiful thing to see. All of our families come together. There was no fighting, and we're just working together, and you know, we got to be a part of that also.
Yeah.
So it was from an unfortunate event, we were able to see that in fruition, and And yeah, what were some of your biggest takeaways from learning the culture?
Honestly, like you said, it was a beautiful thing to see everybody moving in unity and moving as one.
Hmm.
And I do believe, like you said, some of the practices that we have in our culture are biblical, like as far as like working together and everyone showing up for each other. As like we mentioned in the beginning, we grew up very Americanized. So there's a lot of things in our culture that we don't know, that we don't understand. And, we're okay with admitting that because I want to learn, and that I think um creating that space, like you said, for the elders to create that space for us to learn, I thought that was beautiful, because when we were younger we didn't have that. When we were younger, it was kind of expected of us to know those things. But mind you, when we were younger, we were kind of just thrown in the ring without any training, and we don't also speak the language. So
Hmm.
us not knowing the way things are supposed to go, as well as not knowing the language, we kind of were set up for failure. And in doing that, the elders at that time would scold us, and it would kind of discourage us from even wanting to learn. And I'm not gonna lie, that's why for years I kind of didn't have anything to do with anything that was Samoan, Polynesian, anything, because I just felt like they're mean. I was like,
Hmm.
they're mean. I don't want to be around them. Like, and it made me feel as a kid like I was dumb, like I didn't know stuff. But now that we're older, and the elders are a lot more patient. And I think because they're getting to that understanding of, if they're not going to teach us, a whole like practice of a culture is going to
Hmm.
die with them. And so I think them getting to that realization, they kind of are forced to slow down and actually teach these practices, and not even just the practices, also the language, to us, because you have kids, your
Hmm.
kids are having kids. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so if we aren't knowledgeable, the culture is going to
It's
die.
gonna die down. Yeah, it's gonna dolan out,
Mm-hmm.
and then next you know there is no culture.
Right. And I think all of us pretty much like learning, you kind of saw like even the younger kids, like how much they wanted to learn, how eager they were,
Hmm.
and how much pride they took in, like, cuz after they learned, it made them feel that sense of connection to the culture. And even me, like I felt more Samoan after. Like I felt more like, connected to my people, because I understand, I participated, I was part of something. And not only that, we were able to give our grandpa like a beautiful send off, with his goodbye celebration. And I think that's really what the culture is all about. Like, our culture is built on family, faith, and unity, and also, God. Like, so
Yeah,
it was a beautiful thing to
yeah.
witness.
Then talk about like your post that you made.
Oh, right, right. So I was fortunate enough to film the process of us learning, and surprisingly on every platform, like this video performed very well. Like it low key went mini viral, because I think there's a lot of people like us who are Americanized and who want to learn the culture, but there really isn't a space for that, or they haven't had the opportunity to do so. And so in that, I just, I felt like posting that video teaching these things of just mind you, it was just a little snippet of what we learned, but they were able to learn a little bit of what we learned. And so I think that was beautiful to witness as well. And I think us doing this, like kind of sharing what we know, it's teaching those who don't know and
Hmm.
who are eager to learn.
Yeah, and there was a question I asked you prior, which was, why do you think the generation that came before our generation,
Hmm.
why do you think they didn't offer that, like how we did dry runs with
Right.
our elders for grandpa's funeral, and they were doing like doing the C's, the way you do it, and explain to us the reasons why we do it like that, so on and so forth. I asked you the question, why do you think the elders, the generation that came before us, didn't offer that to
Hmm.
our generation?
Yeah, and I think too is because they were the first generation in America, right? And so them coming from America, I mean, not coming from them coming from the islands to America, they kind of assumed that,
Hmm.
excuse me, that just because we saw them do it, that we were gonna automatically know,
Catch on. Hmm.
right? Catch on. And so I think it was just them assuming, and them assuming kind of discouraged us when we would get it wrong, into not wanting to learn, because
Yeah.
now it's like I'm being yelled at, don't even know why I'm being yelled at.
Mm.
And not only that, I don't even understand like the
Yeah.
language.
I
So
think it's a very toxic type of mentality to have. Like, you should know this.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like, I've come to an understanding that to put an expectation that somebody's gonna think the way I think, or their learning style is the same as mine, and just making that assumption, I think that can create a lot of frustration and a lot of confusion. And therefore, I feel like the person that's supposed to be teaching or that wants to pass it down, they're not going to want to do it because the work that's required. They're trying to teach them in this one style that they know how to teach.
mhm,
But there's so many different learning styles. You know what I mean? So then I think it's important also for those that are very knowledgeable of the culture to have that grace towards those that want to learn. Because if you don't have that grace and you're super critical to your role, scolding them and left and right, like if you're in a Samoan culture, they'll even they'll hit and stuff like
mhm,
that. I think if that grace isn't there, then it's going to create a type of attitude towards the one that's trying to learn. Like, man, I can never get it right. Why would I even want to
yeah,
learn?
mhm,
I mean, so again, creating a safe space for American Samoans like
yeah,
ourselves that are ignorant of the culture to make little hiccups here and there and mess ups,
mhm,
and ask the questions. Okay, what did I do? Okay,
mhm,
how did I do it moving forward? Why is that? Stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and I think like having that sense of understanding of why we do the things we do, or why certain things are done the way it is it makes you appreciate the culture more. It makes you
Mm-hmm.
appreciate really being Samoan, because like I said, I've seen it done in the past. And what I'm talking about is the CEs, right? Of when somebody passes, we have families come to the house and they bring their offerings or their gifts, I guess love offerings you could call it, to the family in support.
Mm-hmm.
Like understanding why they do those things, and why we give back to them. It's beautiful to see,
Yeah.
because not a lot of cultures have that. Some cultures, like I said before, they don't have that luxury that we have, that we can lean on our community to kind of pull up when we need them in times of need.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have to resort to donations or
Yeah.
GoFundMe pages.
Or
And
car
so,
washes
or
and
car
putting up
washes
signs.
and stuff like that. And, so, and I know this too, because, I was talking to one of my friends who isn't Islander, and I was talking to them about, like, when we have in the Samoan culture, when somebody passes, we have these things. And
Love it.
yeah, the falava is where we have to give and we have to help. Like, I know everybody hates falavas. Everybody hates kind of giving, because I know when I was younger, I hated it because I'm giving money to somebody I don't even know, from like a distant cousin's cousin. But but on the flip side, when you need it, your family's going to be there as a community to kind of help you through this process, because the last thing you want to worry about when you're grieving is finances.
Yeah.
And so on that aspect, it was beautiful to see our community comes together. And I think there's a lot of beautiful things about our culture, not just like in times of like funeral stuff, but also like, in the way that we, I don't know, like, let me see what's but like, but
There's
no,
other
like,
beautiful things like
like I
yeah.
love the costume. Mona, I think that's beautiful too. But no, like there
The
is a
people over
lot
there, the
of
island's beautiful.
no. The cookies are beautiful. Nah, but for real, like it is a beautiful, like being Samoan is a beautiful culture, and I love being American Samoan.
Have you
Okay.
ever tried Punga Bubble? It's a beautiful thing, bro.
No, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's beautiful to be a part of something. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
definitely felt
I
that.
agree with you. Learning the reasons, it kind of gives you a sense of belonging, and also that you feel that connection, right? Because something I told my sis was, one thing I learned is nobody does anything unless they feel like it. Right. And if you're just telling like your kids, right, when we're kids, we really don't have a lot of options. You do it. We were raised in a type of environment where you do what I say. You just shut your mouth. You don't ask questions. You just do it. So if we ask questions, why, you get slapped.
Mhm.
Right. So I think doing it like that is only going to last you so long, because eventually the hitting, you get numb to it. Right. And you dealing with kids. I mean, I have kids of my own. They get to an age to where they start giving you a bit of resistance, and they're going to try to push the envelope. Like, I think that type of environment is very toxic, but giving somebody that grace, giving them that space that's safe for them to make hiccups and this and that, I think that's going to give them that that again, the sense of belonging, that connection to where they want to be there. Like where we're at right now, it's a choice for us to be there. I can easily just say I don't want nothing to part and I want nothing to do with this because I've seen what's happened in the past. I've seen the division that Alofas can bring, and I want nothing to do with it. I stay way far from the drama. I mean, there's already a lot of stuff that's going on in my life already, so why would I want to be a part of that? Or I can get to the stance of like where I'm at right now. I'm an adult. I can think for myself, where I can get into these spaces, and where I'm at right now, I want to learn the culture, but I also want to I'm not afraid to ask these questions, and I'm not afraid to check and ruffle feathers if I have to, if I feel like this is what's detrimental for our family.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's important for us to confront the things that we see as a problem, but I think that's a problem within in general also, is people are afraid to speak up, and because this is how it's always been. I know that's how it's always been, but look at it's bringing division. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like checking things that need to be checked, and being okay with adapting and changing things. Just because this is how it's always been doesn't mean we have to continue down that dysfunction. You know what I mean? If it's something that's detrimental for us, why would we continue to pass that down to our children? It should be something that's bringing us together, not separating us.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a beautiful culture, and the practices that we do are beautiful, but I think it could be easily misconstrued or easily like taken advantage of if used in the wrong way. But I think that's the importance of understanding the reasons things are, and then too, understanding what role every person plays, because that's another thing I was able to see as I was learning, was there every single person plays a part in this community that we have. You have a chief, you have the people cooking the food, serving the food, the people that serve the gifts, and understanding what role you play, I think, is very important as well.
And then respecting the roles of the people.
Right.
That as a family, if we ordain this person to be whatever that is, a secretary, the chief, the Makai, and so on and so forth, respecting them within that and learning how to switch hats.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when in circles, people can like, oh no, this is my cousin, it's my brother. You know what I mean? So I can talk to him as if he's my brother, and then that respect gets thrown out the window, because like you start talking from that stance rather than looking at, okay, this is my elder, this is the secretary. Right. I'm not gonna step on no toes.
Yeah.
And I believe that can cause a lot of division within the family also. And then drama comes, and then there's people that don't want nothing to do with drama. They're like, man, I'm out. You need to count my family out.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, that kind of correlates over to business as well, is respecting positions and respecting people's titles. Granted, in every single position that you play, always have that heart of humility, always be humble, because that's another thing about our culture, is we're very humble. It's I feel like it was like a battle of who could be the most humble, honestly, like, because when they give the gifts, they give it back, yeah. And so it was like this game of like hot potato of like, no, you take it, no, you take it, like, and it's funny, is it reminded me of like, remember like when we were younger, and they would tell us to go give something to our uncle, and they'd be like, and the uncle would be like, oh no, give it to your dad. And so you're literally in this game of like tug of war, like, somebody take the damn
I ain't playing this game with y'all, bro. Like, somebody take it.
But no, literally, like, so it is important to remember, always be humble, but also respect those that are in positions higher than you, or like on the side of you. Like, it's important not to cross that boundary, because I think when you're family, it's easy to kind of like, okay, I know that you're the secretary, but you're also my brother, and I'm not, and to it kind of, there's that power struggle. And so I think just respecting the other person,
it becomes unsustainable. That's what it is. Like for example, you talked about business before you walked up in here, and in the Prosper Sink or the Tachi Nutrition building, I told you, I know we siblings, but when you walk in the building, I am the CEO of the business. I want you to respect that, because I think that's where it starts getting a little funky too. You know what I mean? It starts like, it's just my brother. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've never said that. I would never.
Just like, I don't have to. You know what I mean? I can do whatever I want.
I would never even think of that.
But yeah, I think respecting the titles.
Right.
It boils down to that. I mean, if we talk about our culture, he said it boils down to honor, respect, God, and family. So again, I think that right there will help this system that they're building, that they've had, become sustainable, and not, again, bring division and cause division.
But like we said, you guys, there's so much more that we want to learn, that we also like aren't knowledgeable on. But if you guys would like to drop it in the comments and let us know, like we would be open to learning. Like, and I heard too that they also have like a school in Frisco where they're actually teaching the Fa Samoa to the younger generation, which I thought was dope because one of our nieces and nephews are part of it. You know, Tasha's kids, they're actually in that, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that we had those things accessible, but had I known, you know, I still wouldn't have. Mainly because, you know, my parents had 6 kids. They were not going to enroll us in that.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid coming up, I didn't want nothing to do with it. I felt like it was very, very like a controlling environment. I mean, from my experience, and I didn't like feeling powerless.
Yeah.
I didn't like feeling like I was being controlled.
Like,
you know what I mean?
they made you feel small.
Yeah, it made me feel real small. Like anything I had to say was it had no value, no weight behind it. I mean, so when I started getting into my faith, everything was very contrary to what I was taught.
Yeah.
And so my, I guess, perception or my perception on the whole thing was like ass backwards. I was like, I'm cool. I feel like I'm cool right here. I'm confident over here. I feel like I'm not confident over there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay in my space over here. But now I feel like we're in a season to where I feel like we have, I wouldn't say have to, but we get to be a part of something too, because it's part of who we are too. I want to embrace that part of me. And you know, part of the reason why I feel like, you know, kind of willing back to what I asked you, why the generation that came before us didn't pass down that knowledge, or even like I guess they talked about it in a way to where we want nothing to do with it. Somebody had said it like this and it made sense, and I'll say it, which was they weren't good at storytelling.
Oh, right.
They weren't good at storytelling. Whenever we hear about stuff that happened in the past, it was talking from a stance of trauma. You know what I mean? It was like all the horror stories of their upbringing. But now that we're singing and hearing about it, there's a lot of beauty that comes from our culture. And that's the part we didn't get to hear as much. Do you mean? I feel like the trauma that came from the storytelling outweighed.
Right. And that's kind of what they passed on to us.
Unfortunately. I mean, that's why my perception on it was very toxic, into where I didn't want nothing to do with it. But now I'm seeing it and I want more. I want to seek more of that. You know what I mean? And gain more knowledge on that.
I feel like I went through that season as well. Especially like because I promise the last time I had anything to do with like anything even related to Fa Samoa was when I was a kid, like in elementary. And it only took that one old lady at some random church to yell at me for me to like be very discouraged. And I was like, you know what? I want nothing to do with this. And so literally from that time to like this year, I literally had nothing to do with like Fa Samoa because, like you said, it was traumatizing. Like, you know, I'm a kid trying to learn and I got yelled at, and that really hindered my spirit. Like,
did you know that lady?
I had no idea who this. I know what she looked like. Whose grandma was that?
That's it's common, because I remember when we were kids and we were at this church. And it was like a Samoan church. And me and Zachariah, our older brother, me and him were talking like under our breath, but we were making some noise, I guess. Some Samoan dude in front of us, I don't know if you remember this, some Samoan dude in front of us didn't know who the hell this dude was. He turned around and slapped Zachariah.
I think I remember that.
Hard.
Yeah, I think I remember
like, you
that.
can hear it. Like, he slapped him. Riley was crying silently, but he was crying. But that was normal.
Yeah.
Dad wasn't tripping. You know what I mean? Mom wasn't tripping. That's like when they say the village raised the family, literally that's what it was. Everybody had access to your aunties, your uncles, grandma. Anybody can pretty much spank you if they're older than you.
Scold you,
straight up,
correct you, and honestly too, our parents, a lot of, because in their eyes, respecting the elders was above like even checking on a kid, like, is you good, or why did he do that? It was like no question about, you know. So I think there are certain things that like nowadays I'm pretty sure our parents would not be okay with that.
Hey, put your hands on my kids, bro. It's gonna be a problem. Right. Nah, dude, nah.
But I think, like I said, I think times were different then, way different. And now that they understand, like, you know, that we are the next generation that has to pass these things on. Now, you know, they have that patience, and they're creating that space for us to learn. Because, like I said, if we don't learn who's gonna pass these things? Because ChatGPT very limited, don't know anything, and I'm not gonna lie, I
And
be asking
Google.
questions on there, but she don't know either. He don't, whatever it is. So I think getting the information firsthand, like that's one thing that I wish I would have done. You know, when our grandpas were here, was ask them more questions of the whys, the hows, like how did you get here, and learning their story too. I think it's a beautiful thing of taking advantage of your elders, not taking advantage in a good way of your elders as they're here, you know,
Yeah.
getting to know their stories firsthand.
Because I mean, it's not a if, it's a matter of, you know, when they pass, because that time will come, you know, when they
Yeah.
expire and they're no longer going to be here with us. So pulling all of the wisdom that you can, all of the stories, the beautiful stories. Also, like I like hearing both.
Yeah.
I like hearing the upbringing, the hardship, and also the upbringing of the beautiful. You know what I mean? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Because I can kind of like be grateful of where I'm at right now. I think that's what pulling stories from the elders can do for you. Also, if you look from like an abundance type of mindset, is I can learn from their wisdom. I can learn from their mistakes. I can learn from their wins, right? And also be grateful for where I'm at right now, because hearing where they came from, you know what I mean? I told this to the family. It was like, man, grandpa, he left everything he knew out there in Samoa. He came here to the States to give us better opportunities, give us a better kickstart than he ever had. And that's what it saddens me to see people in our generation to not see it like that.
Yeah.
Right. And not take advantage of the different resources that we have. And I would say that's part of the problem that I see amongst our people is they get caught up in their circumstance, right? They become victim of their environments. They become products of their environments, or victims of their circumstances. They allow their upbringings, right, the hardship, to make them feel as if they can't get past this, right? So it's like it's like a victim type of mentality.
Yeah.
But I was like, bro, if you would see all the different resources that you have access to here in the States, that you don't have access to in different countries, like even Samoa, like, bro, you like move different.
Oh yeah.
Right. So if I were to ask you, what do you think, talking in general, is limiting our people within, you know, the Fa Samoa, or just
I mean,
the
I
Samoan
think,
culture?
like you said, not taking advantage of the resources that's accessible. Excuse me. Like, I felt like their mindsets, like it's really holding them back. The mindset is an important thing in anything that you do. And like you said, somebody's perception could either do them a great justice and like furthering them in life, or it could do them a disservice with holding them back by viewing yourself as a victim and viewing your upbringing as, this is my story, this is who I am, and this is all I'll ever be. But I think if you view your story as, yeah, this is where I started, but this is not where my kids are going to be. This is not even where my life is going to be. I'm going to use this as fire for where I never want to be ever again. And I'm going to do the things necessary that I need to further myself, so that my kids never have to even feel what this feels like. And us, you know, coming from humble beginnings, and even thinking about, you know, like you said, grandpa came here with nothing. And not only did he come here with nothing, his entire left side was paralyzed. And this man literally had 12 kids, 70 grandkids, 80 something great grandkids. From him came a whole entire village. And from like, until he wasn't able to, he worked every day of his life to provide for his family. He was a provider. And so viewing something as that is like part of his legacy of what he passed on to us. And so because I view that as like motivation for me, is like, you know, there is no excuse. There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And so that's what I see when I think of my grandpa, is he was a hustler. He always found a way to get it, even if it came to like recycling cans and bottles. Like, you know, my grandpa was the first one I saw doing that and made us do it. And, you know, I used to hate it, but now that I'm older, I understand the things that he kind of tried to instill in us, was to have that I guess that go-getter mentality, you know. And so I think, yeah, that's a big thing of what's holding like our people back, is the mindset. You have to shift your mindset from a victim to an overcomer. You didn't, I mean, yeah, you went through those things, and it might have been painful, but look, you're still standing today. You know, and it's not an excuse of like, I went through this, so yeah, like I'm just stuck here. I mean, I am who I am. Like,
Yeah, you know, if you're looking for an excuse, it's easy to find. You know what I mean? But one thing that it's going to be detrimental for you, thinking that your excuses are the reasons why. Right. So it's a matter of getting out of your little oh me oh my and get to it. Something I heard from an entrepreneur that said, what's crazy is these people that think that they can't go out and get it. He said, for example, there's a homeless people, right? Crackheads, people out there tweaking out. He said, bro, they make money to get high every single day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if they have the motivation to go out and get it to make sure they get the next high, what's your excuse? You know what I mean? You're over here crying about it and this and that. Like, bro, you have the power to change your decision making today.
Yeah.
To change the outcome of of your future tomorrows. Right. So again, it saddens me to see our people dealing just stuck in this loop, literally. Same year after year. You know what I mean? It's just like something has to change, and it starts with our limiting beliefs. We have to literally do a self-reflection and purge out anything that we feel is no longer serving us. Right. But, talking about like the perception or talking about the stories that we've heard, the first thing I remember ever hearing about our culture was, it wasn't even from somebody in our family. It was another Samoan cat that was of that generation. He said, Samoans, Caleb, he said, Samoans are known to be like a crab in a bowl. You ever heard that before?
I probably heard it from you.
Yeah, it was like, he's like saying, Samoans, unfortunately, this is what he told me, but he said, Samoans are known to be crabs in a bowl. Anytime somebody tries to make it out of the bowl, the next one just tries to pull them right back down. And there's so many stories I've heard like that, and it's negative ones, but again, it'd be nice to hear some good stuff coming from our culture, and why not our generation be the one to pass that down,
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I that saying crabs in a bucket, like I feel like I've seen that done in the past, especially like them Samoans who are like well known in the community. You're always gonna have like those other polys who always have something negative to say. And I feel like if it was any other person in any other culture, but it's not even just the Samoan cultures that do it. Every culture does it. And I've seen it of where like Spanish culture, when somebody is well known, then there's a bigger light on them. They have that bigger light on them. And so they're held to a higher standard. But I feel like with Polynesians, we're kind of held to a standard because, especially if you're well known, they kind of hold you to a higher standard because they see it as you're representing the entire culture. Especially if you're like, I don't know, in Hollywood or
The
like,
Rock.
The Rock. Like
So
many people like in the poly community don't see him as like what do they call it? Like they call him a plastic Samoan, but. Even with that, like, they hold him to a unrealistic standard of theirs. According to them, he's not Polynesian enough or he's not Samoan enough.
I mean, I've heard so many people talking about his money, right? He's like, oh, if you're for our people, why don't you take some of your money and go help out this? I was like, bruh, you can't even.
He's not your daddy.
I was like, when people start using the word should,
yeah,
right? I was like, bro, you can't even control your own stuff over here. I mean, if you care about these different organizations, these different neighborhoods, why don't you get your bag up and then go and contribute to these? I mean, because we don't really see all the stuff he does on the back end with his money. But I think it's a funny thing to say, like, oh, you should go do this with your money, bro. Yeah. Like, dude, what are you doing with your money? I mean, where are you putting your money at?
Right. Mind you, he started with nothing like a lot of us did. And so if he was able to do it, that means that opens the door for the rest of us because it's because of him. A lot of people even know what Samoans are because before then they only knew, Hawaiians. And so yeah, with that, I think they just hold him to a higher standard because they see him as the only representation for our culture.
And thank God for Moana, huh?
Oh yeah, thank God for Moana. Hey, speaking of that, I do want to go watch the movie, but even with that, I think it's beautiful to see representation for our people, even in that, in the Moana movie, and then even the Avatars where they had the Islander people,
the Maori.
But I don't even like Avatars, but I thought that was probably my favorite one because again, representation is important to see your people on screen. Yeah, that's awesome because we didn't have that as kids. The closest thing we had, I think, was Pocahontas. what? Because she's brown. We're brown. Nah, I think it was Lilo. Maybe Lilo.
Pocahontas, that's Native American food.
No, I know, but I liked her because she was brown, and then Lilo came years later.
Lilo Stitch, Lilo and Stitch. I think it was what's called. I was going to say something. It was when I used to work at Amazon. And people used to ask me, oh, what's your ethnicity? I'm like, I'm Samoan. They're like, what's that?
Yeah.
I was like, Really? Like, you don't know who The Rock is, dude?
Mhm.
They're like, I thought he was black. I was like, that fool's Samoan too, bruh.
Like
I was
he's
like, dude,
half.
I was like, you know Moana, the
Mhm.
cartoon? They're like, oh yeah. I was like, bro, that's my people, dog.
Oh, you were working at Amazon still when
Yeah, when
Moana?
Moana came out.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, I was like, man, thank God for Moana, dude. A lot
No,
of
for
people out
real,
here
like,
in the valley didn't even really know what the heck Samoans were.
yeah, I used to have to describe it as, you know what Hawaiians are? Okay, like that. Like that was the only way I could describe it because
They're like neighboring islands.
yeah,
It's
I
right
was
next
like,
door.
so Hawaiians are from Hawaii, Samoans are from Samoa, like two different islands,
Uh,
all island people.
yeah,
But
yeah. When Moana came out, it helped me out a lot. I was like, oh, I know Moana. I was like, yeah, fool, those are my people, dog.
yeah, but do you be getting offended because like when I meet random people and they're like, "Oh, Moana, you're Moana," I'd be like, "I'm not Moana." I was like, "Yeah, she's someone, but that's not my name." Like I be getting annoyed when they be calling me that though. Like I don't know. That's kind of like someone would call you like Maui. It'd be like, "No, that's not me."
No, I don't really get that a lot. No.
No, I get that a lot, especially with people if they only know Moana. They're like, "Oh, she's Moana." I'd be like, "That's not my name."
Uh, no, I used to get Native American a lot when I was like hella skinny. But,
I can see that.
yeah.
No, I'm just playing.
Anyways,
I mean, we could talk about like, because I guess like part of what I got too from us learning the Fa Samoa way was understanding like identity like is important, understanding where you come from, understanding where your parents come from, just the history and the generations of people before you. I feel like learning the Fa Samoa way kind of gave me that sense of pride of understanding like how many generations before us and all the things I guess before that I didn't understand of like the practices. It started to make sense and click.
mhm.
And like I said, it brings a sense of appreciation because you understand now like all the people, all the things, I guess, all the people that had to come from the islands to here and then to still practice it today. Because I feel like there's a lot of cultures that aren't Polynesian that don't even practice their culture anymore. And I feel like it's easy to lose your culture when you come to America.
Mhm.
And so,
Because they get a taste of the American dream.
right.
You know why they started sending people out here? The kids, when they get older, they send them to the States.
To get money and send back home.
That was the purpose of sending them
Oh,
out
was
here.
it? Oh, I was
It
just
was.
guessing.
But that's the thing. When they send them out here, then they get a taste of the American culture.
And they don't want
And
to.
then it's kind of like, well, how am I going to try to send money over there? I can't even barely survive over here.
Right.
So then that's where, and then they start having kids and the kids are uncultured.
Mm.
And then they're expecting the kids to do it. And it's like, do what?
Yeah.
So they don't see the importance behind it, or they don't feel that,
Mm.
obligation, I guess, per se.
Yeah. But I seen some, so I be seeing like clips online of like, people who still live in Samoa. Excuse me. And so they live in Samoa, but their feaos like start at like the crack of dawn. Like they start working, they start doing all these things. And that aspect of it is like beautiful to see because in America, yeah, right. It's good luck finding like a Samoan who's gonna wake up at like 5 a.m. to like do what they need to do, unless they're like told to. But I feel like that sense of culture of like doing your duties in the morning and taking care of business, providing for your family, somewhere along the line got lost in generation. Because I feel like this our generation. We back to talking about that. I see like a lack of drive, a lack of like
I'm gonna say it. There's a lot of
laziness, a lot of
people going on.
laziness.
There's a lot of laziness going on in this generation. I mean, I'm starting to see a lot of content creators. It's a beautiful thing to see. A lot of our people,
Yeah.
people like creating content and getting entrepreneurship spaces. You're talking on podcasts and stuff like that. Now that we're in this space, you're starting to see it. It's like one of those like when you get a certain type of car, right?
Yeah.
And you think you've never seen this car as much on the road, and then you have it, you start spotting it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like since we started this podcast thing, I'm starting to see a lot of Polynesian podcasters. I'm like, hell yeah, that's dope, bro.
But that's dope. Even when we see like these big time names of or big following content creators who are literally getting paid to create content and they're islander, that's a dope and beautiful thing to see. And it says like anybody can do it. That's one thing that I see all of them say is, and they try to educate our community to get them to understand like, yeah, I'm doing this, but you can do this as well. And yeah, like you said, there's a lot of people in our generation who are lazy and kind of entitled in a sense because of being Americanized. But I think it would be beautiful too to like get back to that, like understanding like our people are workers. Our people are,
and
hustlers.
there's more to life.
Yep.
There's more to life. There's more out there. I feel like when you stay in your circles and certain type of environments, it's kind of hard for you to expand your horizons. Or it wasn't until I went to Florida, Tampa, Florida, in this conference and started seeing how much people were actually making, and then hearing where they came from was way worse than where I came from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like it expands your horizons. It's like, man, if they could do it, what's my excuse?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's the power and proximity, getting into certain circles to where you see what people are actually doing out there and what their, exposure to certain type of, not only people, but places. It's like, bro, it starts to change the way you think and change the way you start to change the way you feel about yourself and what you can actually do. I feel like, and that's, going back to the belief systems, you have to actually believe you can accomplish these things. Because I feel like people get so stuck in this insecurity type of mindset where, like, they believe the name calling that was, whether it be the name calling or whether they believe that, oh, mom and dad couldn't do what makes me think I can do that. They couldn't even do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you just got to, change your circle sometimes too. I feel like that's a scary thing for a lot of people. Letting go of, not saying like you have to completely let them, like, cut them off and ghost them, but learning to just, for a season, love them from a distance, bro.
Yeah. I mean, that's true because I've done it. And I know I speak a lot about this to, like, my clients because a lot of them struggle with that problem. And, it's not easy walking away, especially if you've been in this surrounding for a while. It's not ever easy, but it is beneficial to your future self to like surround yourself with successful people, surround yourself with people who are living the life that you like are trying to get to.
Yeah.
Because it motivates you and it shows you, like, dang, honestly, it opens your eyes to a new perspective. Because I know for me that to be true, because once I stopped hanging around people who all they want to do is party every day, and then I started getting in circles with people who are business minded or like Christ-like, my life completely changed, and my life doesn't look anything like it did like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, you start changing the way you think too.
Yeah,
when people are literally talking to you, they're giving you a piece of their mind. So when you give them that time to speak into your ear, I mean, the Bible talks about faith coming by hearing and hearing the word of God. So if all you're doing is hearing gossip, hearing all this negative talk, you're actually you're downloading that. Right. And then next, you start thinking just like them. So it's real important to guard what you're downloading into your ears. You know what I mean? And being intentional with relationships that you're building, and really ask yourself and be true to yourself. The relationship I'm holding on to right now with this friend group, whether it be family, whether it be just an outsider, is it beneficial for me? Is it serving me to where it's going to get me to where I want to go? Or is it actually pulling from me and keeping me in my circle of sameness? You know what I mean? And being honest with the answer that you get, and based upon the answer that you get, there has to be some cutting, or there has to be some, like, whether embracing the relationships that's going to actually pull you up and not tear you down. You know what I mean? Because I feel like with relationships that you build, it has to be intentional for one, but two, it has to be a give and take type of thing, right? Because if I'm in this type of relationship and I was like, all right, is this the type of relationship that's going to be beneficial for me? It has to be a give and take.
Yeah.
Or I have to be doing pouring and you have to be pouring back into me.
Yeah.
Or is this one of those, like, okay, this is my mentee, so I'm not really putting too much of a high expectation on this one. I'm doing a lot of the pouring.
Yeah.
But I got to be making sure that I'm getting poured into also. Right.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's a healthy type of relationship. I would place it under that umbrella of giving and taking. But again, being true to yourself and cutting off whatever needs to be cut off for a season. Not saying that you're better than them. It's just you're trying to go somewhere, and these people right here are actually holding you down.
And like you said, like surrounding yourself around new people. Like, not all the time are your old surroundings gonna understand, but that's when you have to make that decision that I want this more for myself than to spare the feelings of the people in my past, and yeah, it's not easy, but
it's easier said than done, for sure. I had told one of my clients this, which was, I hear a lot of people talking about, if I were to talk to my younger self, what would I say?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I say, okay, if you were to just envision it for a little bit, go into the future, and this person that it's in the future, your future you is a 10.0 version of you, right? They have accomplished everything that you have on your goal list today. And, they overcame all the different things. If they were to talk to you right now and look at what you're doing right now, your decision making, the things that you're still holding on to, the things that you're tolerating, would they be tolerating and doing those things? If not, then why are you doing it today? You know what I mean? So it's one of those, like, you have to be real honest with yourself. I know that sometimes people are afraid of hurting feelings, but if I have to hurt some feelings temporarily for me to get to where I got to go, and then you can catch up later, hey, I'm gonna be solid, bro. And in a sense, I feel like you'll be doing them a solid too, because now you can actually help pull these people up.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't take somebody somewhere where you're not going, for one, or you're not even there. Right? How can I teach you how to get to a milli if me myself haven't really touched a milli like that? You know what I mean? So there has to be hard decisions that need to be made.
Right. Okay.
So Mai Tai Tai.
In closing,
stop
being lazy. Being Samoan is a beautiful culture, and yeah, I'm more Samoan after learning all that. So I'm just playing, but yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.